Hey guys, it's been a long week, but I finally got my computer to post the next log. I've been working overtime to afford both London rent and Christmas presents. It hasn't been fun. Can't say much more since this log's one of the longer ones. I'll try to get the next one up a little sooner. Thanks again for all your help. The left-right game, draft 1, 11/02/2017. The next morning, everything's the same. It's strange. We're usually so blind to the quiet consistency of our everyday lives, only really taking notice once something's changed. Yet, as I stir a spiral of honey into my oatmeal and glance around the group, it's the notable lack of change that truly stands out. Since the previous evening, the atmosphere surrounding the convoy and the demeanor of each other doesn't seem to have altered in the slightest. The night has fallen short in its role of grand meridian, failing to partition the past and the future, and bringing with it neither perspective nor closure. It's as if yesterday has spilled like a toppled brushpot onto the next morning, coloring everything with the same temperaments, fears, and divisions. Lilith and Eve sit facing each other, their legs crossed on a plastic ground sheet. Neither are saying very much, albeit for vastly different reasons. Lilith is still preoccupied by her own smoldering indignation, whereas Eve looks overcome with the subtle but pervasive dread. Neither have taken food from Rob's stove, a decision I suspect Lilith made for the both of them. Apollo, Bonnie, and Clyde are across from me. Apollo is making conversation, attempting to revive his usual good humor. Bonnie and Clyde help him out, laughing at his jokes and smiling along with the stories. Blue Jay hasn't stepped out of her car all morning, eating her own rations and maintaining a welcome distance from the group. Her eyes meet mine as I look her way, and I'm treated to a sharp, sardonic dismissal. And Rob? Rob is attending to the practicalities of the road, serving breakfast, then topping up the Wrangler from one of the hulking jerry cans. It's clear the routine is comforting to him. I can easily imagine how he deals with the great many problems, compartmentalizing, recasting himself as a blunt instrument engaged in a set of necessary processes. He's made himself too busy for grief, and will likely remain so until the feeling fades. As coping mechanisms go, it isn't remotely healthy. I should know. I'm doing pretty much the exact same thing. Clyde, could I get a few words? Clyde looks up from his food, a little surprised.
You want me?
Yeah. If that's not too much trouble.
Oh, no. No trouble at all. You want to do it now? I'm not too hungry.
No, me neither. That would be great, thank you. Would you mind if we moved away from the stove? Clyde nods keenly. Putting my bowl to one side, I take Clyde to the edge of the apple grove. Nobody looks after us.
How are you holding up, Bristol?
Getting there. How about you?
I'm getting by.
So, can I ask, why did you choose Bonnie and Clyde as your call signs?
Huh. Well, it came pretty easy. We used to play outlaws when we were kids. One time Bonnie stuck up a bank.
Really?
Well, no, it was an ice cream parlor. But Bonnie was pretending it was a bank, and then she ran in, holding her hand like a gun. Told Mrs. Guilford it was a stick-up.
Wow, that doesn't seem like her.
Oh no, she was a wild child, always living in a story. Anyway, we got free Sundays and a new nickname in town after that. When Rob told us about the call signs, it was the first thing we thought of.
It's a good choice. I pause, letting the previous subject fade before launching into the next one. All things considered, this may be the last time me and Clyde are on such casual speaking terms. Bonnie told me she talked to the hitchhiker. Clyde's disposition shifts. There's a sudden alertness that wasn't here before, rushing to the foray in immediate response to my words. In the following silence, the center of his wide-eyed stare, an educated guess suddenly becomes much more.
When did she tell you?
I'm sorry, Clyde. She didn't. You just did. I can almost see the stone fall in Clyde's throat, deep, burning embarrassment and hurt that comes from being deceived, from a close secret you held getting out into the world. I don't feel exceptional either, lying to Clyde, bringing him away from Bonnie under the guise of an interview, being the personal abhorrence. It also flies in the face of everything I've tried to be as a journalist. Clyde can't bring himself to talk, so I press forward. I think it might be best if you call Bonnie over here. Nodding vaguely, Clyde wordlessly shuffles back to Bonnie, whispering in her ear. She puts a hand on his shoulder and helps herself up. Whatever he's told her, she doesn't seem angry as she joins us beneath the shade of the apple tree. I didn't want to cause any trouble, and Clyde's been looking forward to this trip for so long, so I didn't want us to turn back. I'm sorry. What happened, Bonnie? I just said 2 words. I wasn't talking to him. I was just doing what Rob said, but then he just... Bless you, was all that was said. That's it. Well, he thanked me, and then he just... So easy to talk to, and I thought, well, I've already talked to him. What will a few more words do?
She hardly said anything else.
What about him? Did he say anything? Bonnie starts to smile, the same way she did last night. A dreamy, enthused expression glowing with reminiscent joy. He told me about this wonderful place. Wasn't it wonderful, Martin?
Bonnie!
Just a few houses by the sea. It made it sound so nice.
Bonnie, please.
What's wrong? We can talk about it, right? When I look back to Clyde, his lips are firmly pressed together, his facial muscles tight. He's holding something back, but what slips through betrays a poignant dismay.
It's all you talk about, Bonnie. You mentioned it a few times after, and since Jubilation you ain't stopped.
You guys talking about Wintry Bay? Clyde grimaces and Bonnie grins when they hear the name. Bonnie, are we headed there? The hitchhiker said it's on our way. I'm so looking forward to seeing it. I can't say I feel the same, and it's safe to say Clyde agrees with me. Before now, I'd only heard Bonnie mention Wintry Bay on 2 occasions, but it sounds like she's talked about it a whole lot. I sympathize with Clyde for what he's dealt with. However, the gross irresponsibility of his actions aren't lost on me either. Does Rob know?
I didn't want to...
You didn't want to trouble him. Or did you just not want him to turn you around? I'm all right, really. Well, either way, you need to tell Rob before we hit the road. Clyde shuffles uncomfortably. I'm not going to do it for you, but too much has happened on this trip already. Ace is... This place is dangerous, okay? There's no place for lies anymore. I hope that Clyde doesn't see the irony, that I've roundly deceived him in the past 5 minutes. He nods, takes Bonnie's hand, and walks slowly towards the Wrangler. Rob is loading the last of the fold-up chairs into the back of the car. The conversation doesn't last long, but by the end of it, Rob rests his hands on Bonnie's shoulder and sends them on their way. He doesn't look mad. Perhaps he just has other things on his mind. That's the second thing I've done today that's inherently non-journalistic. I was supposed to be a fly on the wall for this story, a passenger, recording events with objective detachment without my own influence seeping into proceedings. In many ways, I wish I still was. But the stakes are higher now, and those secrets may be good for editorial, they are also potentially damaging for the safety of the group. Following the incident with Ace, I'm slightly less concerned with an unbiased story than I am with getting home to tell it. Rob looks like he's about to make his morning address. The group wanders over, some more reluctantly than others, and gathers around the Wrangler. First things first. I want to say that, well, tempers got heated last night, and that I'm sorry for my part in all of it. I want to thank you for coming with me this far, and if you want to turn back, well, that's just fine. The group stays quiet. If you're headed back, I'd say if you travel one by one, make sure to stay on the radios, retrace the route, and follow all of the rules that applied when you were getting here. Now, can I get a show of hands who's wanting to keep going on the road? I observe my compatriots closely. The definites will be Bonnie and Clyde, who have already implied that they want to continue, and also Blue Jay, who feels she has nothing to worry about from the road. Apollo is in the wind, and Lilith and Eve are probably a split vote. All in all, this could be the moment our convoy splits in half. Blue Jay throws her hand up lazily. Bonnie and Clyde, predictably, raise theirs. Apollo raises his a few moments later.
Hey, I've come this far.
That leaves Lilith and Eve. After sharing a brief glance with a friend, Lilith raises her hand and Eve follows suit, albeit with an air of trepidation. I'm surprised no one's turning back after everything that's happened yesterday, but it's clear everyone has their own reasons. I'm just glad I don't have to say goodbye to anyone. I set about trying to divine everyone's motives for continuing on the road, but I quickly stop when I realize everyone's looking at me. Oh, yeah, I'm going. I'm going, that way? I gesture to the road ahead and raise my hand redundantly. Well, okay. I guess that's everyone then. We got a fair way to travel today, but there ain't much to see. Just follow the rules and take things as they come, I guess. As we pull out, I start to feel a little restless. The sedentary nature of travel is beginning to take its toll, and I'm starting to feel over-familiar with the Wrangler's passenger seat. I'm glad that I got a chance to stretch my legs last night. Rolling Elysian cornfields span the roadside for the next 5 miles. Turns are few and far between, but Rob's attention never wavers. I'll imagine to grasp his attention briefly. Aren't Jeeps supposed to have poor fuel economy? Well, they ain't the best, but that's always why I bring gas along. Well, it's just the fuel gauge has hardly moved since we left this morning. You noticed that, huh? I was wondering if you were gonna. Why? What have you done to it? Nothing. It's the road. Makes fuel burn slower. Seriously? Ain't just that either. You finish your food this morning? No. Why? Hardly anyone did, except Apollo. The more you go, the less you need to keep going. Okay. Wait. You said the road pushes you along? Yep. But now you're making it sound like it's helping us along. Yep. So it's hostile whilst also incentivizing us. That sounds odd to me. Sounds like life to me. Reasons to stop, reasons to keep going. I suppose that makes sense. Despite his well-documented obsession with the secrets of the road, Rob seems to have a strangely laissez-faire attitude to its intentional logic. It's like the road doesn't need to make perfect sense to him, or at least doesn't expect it to yet. As the fresh rural air drifts through the windows, I lose myself in its hypnotic endlessness of passing fields. I wonder how many eyes have seen these vistas. I wonder where we are. Not geographically, but in a grander sense. Are we still in the world as I know it? Or are we beyond it, below it? Or have we just slipped through the cracks into some intermediate domain? Rob slows the car down to a crawl, a precaution he takes before most corners. My eyes wander gently back into the Wrangler, finally resting on the rear view. There's something behind us, a humanoid figure shrouded in the soft focus of a considerable distance. It staggers quickly toward the convoy, unsure on its own feet. Rob, what is that? Rob follows my gaze to the rearview mirror. His brow furrows. Something new. Rob grabs the receiver. Before he can make an announcement, their speaker splutters with static, followed by Eve's frantic voice.
Guys, there's something behind us. Guys, something's coming after us. Blue Jay, can you see it?
Blue Jay doesn't answer. I doubt she considers it worth her time. A squealing panic rings over the radio as Eve calls again.
Is it from Jubilation? Guys? Guys!
Stay calm, everyone. Let's pick up the pace a little. Rob lets his foot rest heavier on the gas. The Wrangler gently accelerates, with the rest of the convoy eagerly matching her speed.
Who is that, Rob?
I ain't so sure, but we got a turn coming. Let's just get ourselves off the road, see if he follows. The figure continues to stumble toward us. Its arms hang chokily in the air as it comes into a sharp focus. You can just make out that there's something wrong with its face.
Guys, speed up! Please! Please! Calm down! It's coming for us!
I can sympathize with Eve's panic. I've had the luxury of traveling at the head of the convoy. I was the first across when the godforsaken pine was dropped on the road. Eve is now the second to the last, relaying to the other 3 cars to make their escape before she can follow. Ace had to wait for the rest of us. It cost him everything. Now even Lilith are 1 car closer to being where he was.
It's Face! Oh my god! Oh my god, guys, please!
Jesus, shut up!
Hey, that is not helping. Rob, it's moving pretty fast. We
stay on course. It ain't caught up yet, just...
Oh God, oh God, oh God!
Rob's warnings are cut short by the screeching of tires. Eve swerves out of the convoy's neat single-file line and onto the empty stretch of road beside us. The car accelerates past Bonnie and Clyde, past Apollo. I got a brief glimpse of Eve and Lilith as our windows align. Lilith is yelling at Eve, trying to get her to calm down. Eve is screaming into the air, the puppet of her own frantic terror. Her car shoots past us and down the long road ahead. Rob swears and picks up the radio. The figure continues to lurch toward us. Ferryman to Eve and Lilith. Stop the car right now.
Eve, slow down.
Eve, goddammit, you're gonna... I stare through the windshield as the car stops. Not a slow, grinding deceleration, but an unequivocal, immediate halt. Their bodies are thrown forward against the safety glass as the car becomes utterly motionless. Rob, what's happening? I told him to be careful. Why? What's... I no longer need to answer. I realize that it's written right in front of me. Etched on the side of the road, a brief gap, endless rows of cornfield. Only a little wider than the Wrangler itself. The dirt track that leads off to the left. But about 10 meters ahead of us. 15 meters behind Lilith and Eve. I now understand why Rob was being so careful. Why Eve should have been as well. They missed the next turn. Ferryman to all cars. I found the turn. Let's make it quick. Eve and Lilith, you stay in the car. I'm coming back to get you both. Rob flicks on his turn signal, preparing the group for the sharp left corner, and slams his foot on the accelerator. Lilith and Eve disappear behind a wall of corn as we pull down the dirt track. Rob keeps driving until enough space is left for the rest of the group. Once they're all safely pulled in, Rob climbs into the back of the car, grabs his rifle, and jumps out onto the path. We quickly climb out to follow behind him. When we arrive on the main road, the figure has covered a considerable distance, finally drawing near enough for me to see what's wrong with its face. At a certain point, midway across the crown of the head, running in a straight line down past the cheeks under the jaw, the head completely stops. It's like the foremost section of his skull has been sliced cleanly off and has been bent inward, his entire face concave and shrouded completely in a deep shadow, a ghastly organic hood that seems deeper than physics should allow. This isn't all that's wrong with the picture, however. The man's outstretched arms are bent in several places. Dark purple contusions blossom at every unnatural joint as if his arms have been broken multiple times. His leg is also bent on one side, the reason for the irregular walk that still carries him toward us. Rob looks shaken as he raises the rifle to his shoulder, bidding the figure turn around. The man ignores Rob's demands, continuing its march. Even when the bullet hits it square in the chest, the figure hardly slows down. We're forced to jump out of the way as it continues down the road, even Lilith cowering in their locked car as it approaches. Fear shifts into confusion as the creature passes them by and continues down the road. It's as if it doesn't even know we're here. Rob breathes a sigh of relief, lowers his gun, and runs back to the rest of the convoy. The moment he leaves, my mind notes something peculiar. It's an utterly bizarre observation, especially considering many otherworldly facets of the retreating creature. There's something familiar about it, specifically its fashion sense. The shirt, the dirt-covered jeans, they aren't dissimilar to the ones I found in the brown leather duffel bag resting atop the block of C4. Reaching to my pocket, pulling out my phone, I scroll through the list of contacts as the man heaves himself down the road. I call the second number I discovered last night, the one in the Nokia's received call list, the number that likely belonged to whoever created the bomb and whoever was driving the car that day. After a few moments, a ringtone disrupts the creature's silent walk. I end the call, realizing how reckless I've been, praying that the strange figure doesn't see my actions as an excuse to turn around. I'm lucky, this time at least. The dial tone cuts out and the creature continues to stumble its way toward the horizon. The next thing I hear is a scream. Scanning for its source, I see Eve, her door open with one foot out of the car. She's frantically pulling at her leg, seemingly unable to lift it from the tarmac. Eve, what's going on? With shaking fingers, Eve clumsily unties her shoelace and lifts her leg back into the car. Her boot stays in place, and it's possible to make out a slight elasticity to the road below it. A depression in the tarmac around its base. Slowly and steadily, the sole of the boot disappears into the road. Eve watches as the dark tarmac slowly sucks the boot down, enveloping the heel and dragging it beneath the surface. The thought comes to Eve the same moment it does to me. We both fix our eyes on the back of the car where the same soft indent is gradually developing around the tires. Eve's terrified scream is drowned out by the blare of revving engines. I jump out of the way as the rest of the convoy reverse out of the corner and back onto the main road. Blue Jay, Bonnie and Clyde, Apollo, and finally Rob park themselves chaotically around me. Rob jumps out and approaches. They ain't pulled back yet? As soon as he asks the question, he sees the sight before him. Only the neck of Eve's boot remains above the ground, sinking even further into the tarmac. The road gradually, but ferociously churns at the car tires, consuming the rubber and swallowing the lowest edge of the wheel cover. In the midst of such an impossible sight, all I can say to Rob is, they're trying. Lilith and Eve hit the gas hard. The engine growls at the road as it furiously attempts to reverse, the undercarriage creaking and groaning from the sheer mechanical strain. The wheels themselves, however, don't rotate an inch. The tires belong to the road now, taken by the unknown forces that continue to drag them into the earth. The engine chokes, defeated, and I can see Eve screaming into her fists as the roadway calmly continues its work. God damn it, we can't reach him. Tell him to get on top of the car.
What's happening, Rob?
Bristol, tell him to get on the roof. Rob marches off to the Wrangler. The rest of the convoy gather on the road, just in line with the left turn, where we assume it's safe to stand. Everyone, save for Blue Jay, looks on in anxious silence. Eve, Lilith, I need you to get on top of the car, okay? Okay, guys?
We're sinking. Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck, where?
Eve, I'm trying to help you. Rob's working on something, but you need to climb on top of the roof of the car. Don't think about anything else. Open the door. Wind down your window and use it as a foothold. Eve is still deaf with worry. Lilith doesn't hesitate. She places one hand on the upper rim of her open door, one foot on the base of the open window, and her free hand palm on the car's roof. The door rocks on its hinges as she puts her weight on it. In one strong motion, she pulls herself backward until she's sitting atop the car. The tarmac has swallowed its way to the car's lower chassis. Eve stares, transfixed by the road as it pulls her ever closer toward it.
Sarah, look at me.
Lilith is crouching on the car's roof, her hand reaching down to Eve. Her friend's voice seems to be the only thing that can break Eve's fearful commune with the waiting abyss. She turns around, Lilith's hands a few inches from her face.
Get up here.
Her eyes brimming with tears, fought back by rapid, shallow breaths, Eve grabs Lilith's hand. Lilith gets a solid handhold from around the lip of her own doorway and heaves Eve up onto the roof of the car. Eve shrieks a little as the door swings, putting all of her trust into Lilith's grip. She joins her friend on the roof just as the road consumes the lower edge of the door, spilling inside the car's cabin like magma. Damn it, they're too far away. Rob has returned from the Wrangler, rapidly uncoiling a braid of long, light blue climber's rope. I'd seen it resting in the back of the car during the trip, never once thinking I'd see it used. Rob threads one end of the rope through the carabiner and secures it in place with a tight knot. He holds it to his side as he shouts to Lilith and Eve. Okay, Lilith, we only got one shot at this. I'm gonna throw you the hook and you're gonna catch it and yank it taut, okay? Then you can hook it onto something, then climb your way over. Don't let it fall, okay? Lilith looks pale. She nods before clambering to her feet and stepping to the back of the car. Eve watches on, her hands wrapped around her legs. Well, here goes nothing. Rob begins to swing the rope over his head, a large undulating circle that quickly levels out as the weight of the carabiner eases the rope onto a flat plane. I instinctively shrug down as the rope passes over my head, swinging faster and faster. Gritting his teeth, his face reddening with the towering pressure of this single throw, Rob lets the rope fly. It arcs in the air like a casting fish line towards Lilith's outstretched hands. I watch it pass in front of her, the metal carabiner glinting in the sun as it falls. She catches it, grasping the rope in her shaking hands. Despite her victory, I see her face contort with a sudden and striking panic. She holds the rope high over her head, staring widely down at the road between us, following her eyes. My heart sinks. She caught the rope, but she didn't pull it taut fast enough. Even with Rob continuing to hold his end high above his head, the rope had too much slack when it landed in Lilith's hands. It's fallen in a sloping arc, the lowest point of which has scraped against the tarmac. It only rests a few precious seconds before Lilith finds herself unable to pull it free. It sinks into the ground, and the rope starts brushing gently against Rob's fingers before he throws it to the ground. God damn it! Okay, I just got something else, something we can put down. The empty jerry cans. They could step on. It's too unstable, and we'd have to throw them perfect. Okay. The road has claimed almost half the car now. eating up the license plate as the vehicle sinks lower and lower. Lilith looks helplessly on as we deliberate, Eve crying her eyes out behind her.
We could get a ground sheet.
We ain't got one that'll stretch. Well, what about...
I'm going out there.
Apollo's blank statement catches us all by surprise. Turning in his direction, I note a direct and powerful confidence in his manner.
They aren't gonna last much longer. It takes a second for the road to get you, and that's how they got so far ahead before they stopped. I drive out, they jump onto my car, then we climb back.
I ain't got more rope.
You got the winch, right? If I drive out with it bunched up in my lap, I can make sure it never goes slack. Then I hook it up to my roof bars, and we get the hell out of Dodge.
You got the best car for it, but I should drive out there.
You need to work the winch. Bonnie and Clyde can't climb back.
He skips over his rationale for not choosing Blue Jay, not wanting to waste time on a foregone conclusion. What about me? I'm lighter. The climb back would be easier.
But you can't help them when they're jumping over. We're wasting time. You know it's a good idea.
Rob takes a moment to consider it, his mind fighting for a better solution. You'd better get back here, Apollo.
Don't plan on hanging around there, Rob.
Apollo grins before sprinting over to his ranger. Rob, wasting no time, runs to the winch, switches it to manual, and unspools the heavy-duty rope. His hands cross over as he drops each new length onto the ground. I turn back to Lilith. Did you hear that, Lilith? Lilith is huddled next to Eve, attempting to comfort her as the car's headlights disappear into the depths of the road. Her head snaps around when I call.
What's happening?
Apollo's coming out to you. You have to jump onto his car and climb back over, okay?
Okay.
She hurries back to Eve, grasping her friend's shoulder as she relays the plan. Okay, that'll hold. Rob climbing down from the hood of the Wrangler. He's fed the winch cable around and through the lighting rig, ensuring a good level of clearance on the way out. More importantly, for the climb rack, the rope has already been fed through Apollo's driver's side window. Bonnie and Clyde are helping to throw Apollo's baggage out of the trunk and onto the road behind them. The less he has to lose on this trip, the better. All set over here.
Okay. See you on the other side, Rob.
Apollo slams his foot onto the accelerator. The Range Rover bolts forward and powers towards the threshold. The engine roars as he rockets past the left turn and keeps on going into the territory beyond. In the few precious seconds he has, he crosses the distance between the two terrified girls. The winch rope streams through the window and suddenly pulls tight. Apollo is thrown forward as the car comes to an uncompromising stop, roughly a meter's distance from Lilith and Eve. The impact looks brutal, but Apollo somehow manages to keep hold of the rope, and inexplicably, his sense of humor.
I don't think I got the insurance for this.
Clumsily, still feeling the after effects of the sudden stop, Apollo throws open his door and starts to climb out.
Taking the slack, Rob.
My attention fixed on Apollo. I hear the mechanical whir of the winch kick into life. Apollo climbs out of his car and onto the roof. He affixes the hook at the end of the winch to one of his roof bars, securing it in place. A few seconds later, the rope is pulled straight. Apollo steps down onto the hood of his car, his arms outstretched for the girls. It's a short jump, but they'll have to make it from a lower elevation. The trunk of the car already sinking to the ground.
Okay, come on, I got you. We gotta move fast now.
Lilith stands up, helping Eve to her feet before stepping onto the rapidly disappearing trunk.
Okay.
Lilith yelps as she throws herself towards Apollo. Her front foot plants itself on the hood of the car, her other leg flailing in the air behind her. Apollo grabs her by the arms and yanks her onto the car, holding her close to him as she gets her bearing on the smooth metal of the hood. When she's stable, he lets her crawl up onto the roof, where she immediately looks back at Eve.
Steve, nothing to it. Come on now.
Eve paces back, her hands shaking as she contemplates the jump. Fighting against her screaming instincts, Eve squeals as she steps across the trunk and makes the leap across, the toe of her shoe lifting off the car mere seconds before it descends into the murky black pitch of the road. Eve lands short of her destination. One desperate, grasping arm makes contact with Apollo's as her leg bangs and scrapes against the Rover's grill, scrambling for any conceivable purchase. Apollo is wrenched sideways by the force of Eve's landing, thrown off balance by the unexpected application of her whole weight. In the gut-churning moments that follow, Eve tugs up on his chest and wraps an arm around her, his center of gravity passing over the edge of the car. The fall takes a lifetime. Wrapped in each other's arms, Eve and Apollo tumble forward toward the patient, ravenous ground. In the split second before he leaves the hood of the car, Apollo uses the last inch of footing to push himself into a slow turn. The twist continues as they fall until Eve is looking at the road, Apollo to the pale blue sky. In one final action, Apollo pushes Eve's waist, holding her at arm's length. Apollo's back thuds into the asphalt, his head smacking audibly against it. Dazed and concussed, he manages to hold Eve aloft, keeping everything but her feet from joining him on the hard ground.
Get back up. Quickly, get back up.
Her face shredded by fear and guilt and sorrow, Eve stares into Apollo's eyes and whimpers. Collecting herself, she pushes herself off him, ripping out her laces and leaving a shoe and sock behind as she clambers back onto the Range Rover. With every moment, she whispers a quivering apology.
It's okay, it's okay. Go on, it's okay.
He repeats those two words over and over and over until I'm not even sure who he's talking to. The road elasticates around him, dragging him down into the depths. Eve looks back to him, her face cringing in misery. Bonnie buries her face in Clyde's chest, unable to watch the next few seconds unfold.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It's all right. Just get going, okay? Doesn't hurt. Doesn't hurt, really.
Apollo's ears sink beneath the road, entering a new world of perfect silence. Apollo sees the end nearing.
Oh, God. Rob! Rob!
I won't play his final moments. For you, for your benefit, and ultimately for his. Before he sinks into the road, Apollo asks for Rob to talk to his family. He wants Rob to tell them that he loves them. Rob nods, knowing that Apollo won't be able to hear his response. After a few cries of panic despair, Apollo's eyes and mouth are enveloped by the road. His screams are drowned by the thick, churning asphalt. Eve watches the rest of his body sink while Lilith tugs at her sleeve, pulling her towards the roof.
Come on, we've got to go. Sarah, we've got to go. I'm sorry.
Whispering one last heartfelt apology to the air itself. Eve steps up with Lilith and stares at the cable. Okay, guys, just let yourself down until you're hanging from the rope and work your way across.
I've got it. You ready?
Eve looks to her friend.
I don't. Just watch me, okay? Follow right behind me.
The Range Rover's wheels have now disappeared. With every passing second, the cable's clearance diminishes, and now the angle between the roof bar and the Wrangler's lighting rig becomes steeper. They need to start moving now or not at all. Eve looks across the length of rope. You can feel her mind kicking back at the prospect.
I can't. Sarah, we fucking have to, okay? Follow behind me.
Lilith wraps her arm around Eve, hugging her stiff, shivering frame, before letting go and crouching down to the rope, slowly working her way under it, her hands clenching the cable, her legs wrapping securely around it. Lilith starts to pull herself along the rope, shifting her feet every few seconds behind her. She fixes her eyes on me as she drags herself to the halfway mark.
Is she following?
The asphalt swallows the Range Rover's lower chassis. Eve hasn't moved a muscle. The stretch of black tarmac might as well be a bottomless ravine. The Grand Canyon. The idea of hanging herself over it mortifies her. Sarah! Sarah, it's not as bad as it looks. Please, please, come on. Lilith crosses the threshold. Her knuckles are white as she continues to cling to the rope. Rob marches up to her and helps her down into his arms, coaxing her hands free by telling her that she's safe. As soon as her feet hit the ground again, they give way beneath her and Lilith sinks to the ground crying out.
Sarah! Come on, please! I can't. Please, Sarah, I need you here.
Her shallow breaths quaking with anxiety, Eve slowly crouches down and grips the rope. Slowly but surely, as the asphalt consumes the car's license plate less than a meter below her, Eve lowers herself down and with clumsy desperation drags herself along the rope. She's left it late. Her back hangs mere inches from the hungry ground as she shuffles unevenly toward us, lifting her feet and scraping them up to the road, her arms straining to stay locked.
I'm not going to make it. You are. Keep going.
The Range Rover's window is now disappearing. Inside, the dashboard has been submerged. With every yard that Eve manages to climb, the lowering rope ensures she stays close to the ground, even over the final few inches. My heart breaks the moment her foot slips. It happens almost too quickly to register. As Eve erratically shuffles her feet along the rope, her bare foot gives way, swinging underneath her and kicking down onto the ground. Eve tries to raise it in time before discovering that she can't.
No, please.
Thrown entirely off balance, Eve tries to pull herself up. However, with her lower legs seeping into the dark tar, her position can't be maintained. She falls, her body twisting as she falls onto the road. Lilith releases a terrible shrieking cry. Eve whimpers as the side of her head rests against the tarmac, her cheek already subsumed.
I'm sorry. No, please don't be sorry. I love you. I love you. Jen, I love you too. I'm sorry I'm so sorry.
Eve tries to reply, but half of her mouth is sealed shut, encased in the creeping asphalt. her short rest finally melts into one long inhalation, as her nose and mouth are sunk entirely. One remaining eye takes a final, fleeting look at Lilith before vanishing. I look away from what is still distinct. The important things are already gone. Lilith collapses to her knees, a screaming torrent of grief expelled from her burning lungs. Rob is completely immobile, likely searching for something practical in which to bury himself. Bonnie and Clyde simply look lost as they turn their backs on the sinking Range Rover. Blue Jay's reaction surprises me. She stares into the tarmac, the smirk ripped from her face, replaced by a familiar look of shell shock. She repeatedly mutters something under her breath, something that sounds like, "It's not real, it's not real, it's not real, it's not real, it's not real." We stand in silence for what seems like an age, accompanied by the breeze and Lilith's gradually waning laments. After she's exorcised the immediate torment, her screaming descends into a deathly stillness. Rob makes the first step to approach her. I can take you back home if you want to.
No. No.
Lilith wipes her eyes as tears continue to fall freely down her cheeks. When she turns around, she looks enraged.
No. I'm still going. I'm going to get to the end.
I can't tell you when that'll be. Lilith stands up and glares at Rob, then looks over to Bonnie and Clyde.
Are you guys still going? Do you have a seat free?
The siblings look to each other. Bonnie nods.
You got a place with us if you want it.
Is the door unlocked?
Yeah.
Then what the fuck are we waiting around for?
Lilith marches over to Clyde's Ford and climbs into the back seat. She waits for us, impatiently to finish up. Anyone else want to turn around? Rob looks to me and Blue Jay. Blue Jay sends a look of deep scorn his way before marching off to her own car. Bristle, the Range Rover is finally sunk. The road has settled back into a hard, permanent surface. It isn't like Rob to offer me a ride home, and I feel overwhelmingly like I should just take him up on it. But there are too many questions unanswered, too many unchallenged mysteries weaved into the fabric of this journey. Going back now wouldn't be a return. It would be a retreat. I'm still going. A few minutes later, the 3 remaining cars roll down the dirt tarmac, leaving another incomprehensible atrocity behind us. There's part of me that can't believe I'm still continuing down this road. The greater part of me is astonished that no one took the opportunity to turn around. As Rob carries me to the next turn, the one after that, I realize that we all have our reasons. I'd become obsessed with chasing the truth, as had Blue Jay in her way. Bonnie had her own unsettling motives for carrying on, and Clyde wasn't able to abandon her. Lilith had directed her smoldering anger and grief toward the road itself, seeking deliverance at its end. And Rob, as far as he's concerned, there's only one direction to go. Still, I think of the sorrows that have already befallen us, and the potential for unspeakable ruin that lies ahead. I realize that no one in their right mind will continue down this road. I suppose no one is.